Hi, guys. Welcome to the Conversation Shop with Sedrick Page. I'm here with my very, very special guest, Mr. Michael King, Milwaukee businessman, entrepreneur, community activist. Mike, Mr. King, I'm very, very privileged and very happy to have you on the show today. How are you doing, sir?
I'm blessed today, Cedric. Thank you for having me today. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great, baby. Hey, we're going to jump right into the show. Today, we're going to be discussing giving back to the community with emphasis on Milwaukee, where you are, and the impact of the Black church with you being a pastor as well. So, again, I always like to start the show by asking my guests to tell my audience a little bit about you, who you are, where you come from, and then let's just dive right into the show. I want you to give us a little background about how you grew up and what took you from your humble beginnings to Milwaukee.
First of all, my name is Michael King. I'm from I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, but I went to East St. Louis High School, where, to me, my humble beginnings come from a place where East St. Louis is a place where either you play sports or you sell drugs. Okay. But where I come from, my parents, I grew up in a village where I played sports. And where I come from, I don't know, a lot of people might not know this, but East St. Louis is a ritual tradition where you have athletes.
Oh, yeah.
People don't know this, where Jackie Jordan went to school where I came from. Okay. Al Jordan went there. You had Dana Howard, who played for the Chicago Bears. He also played for the Rams. But a lot of people don't know this. My uncle is Brian Cox, who played for the Miami Dolphins, who got drafted, and he also won a Super Bowl with the Patriots.
Yeah,
so
Brian Cox.
My humble beginnings come from my family. And my grandfather was a pastor. My dad was also one. So my humble beginnings come from my tradition with my family, where they were instilled to teach us the values of life.
Okay.
And we grew up in a village where you got a whooping from the front of the block to the end of the block.
Yeah, I grew up like that too.
So my beginnings were the coaching staff of my high school was like my parents. Nothing got past them. You couldn't do no wrong without them taking care of you. So it was like a beginning. So I was blessed to have such great grandparents, such great parents, such great everything. My aunt, who I love so dearly, who just passed away recently, my Aunt Nancy, was a traditional person who took care of everything when my mom died. She was the blessing for me to have. Mm-hmm. And she instilled part of the tradition for me to stay humble. It's like when she passed away, my uncle carries on that tradition now. Okay. It's like when my mom passed away, I shut down my system and I didn't want to talk to nobody. And he told me, if you stop talking to relatives, he'll come find me, because relatives and family are your humble beginnings. And so my humble lifestyle grew up when I was a kid, because a lot of people don't know this, growing up in East St. Louis and where I come from, my grandparents in Drew, Mississippi, where they came from, marched with Dr. Martin Luther King back in the day.
Okay.
I went to Loretta, where he was shot at when I was 4 years old, with my older brother, my younger sister, with my parents and my grandparents, and had my little checkerboard suit on and everything else. They took us to where he was shot at, and we took pictures there, and they talked to some of the people. And that's what made me realize how humble life is for a lot of people who don't get a chance to see that.
Right. So those seeds of giving back was planted or instilled in you at a very young age, is what it sounds like. It sounds like you had great mentors. It sounds like you had great role models. And in your community, it sounds like you had a community that was based upon giving back and inspiring the youth. I didn't want to cut you off. I just wanted my audience to really understand and really interpret some of the things correctly, the things that you're sharing with us. And I love the story. Go ahead and continue. I didn't mean to cut you off, sir.
Oh, no problem. And see, like, For instance, Red Fox is from St. Louis, Cedric the Entertainer, rapper Nelly. All these are people that I grew up around growing up because they know my uncle, they know my family. You know, a lot of people don't know Tina Turner's from there. She grew up around with my parents.
Okay.
Back in the day. So I know and watch the humble beginnings of my parents. In my household, as growing up, there was no smoking, no drinking, no gambling, no swearing. So to this day, there's still none of that. And my kids, we can go out and have fun and go to dinner. They don't drink around me. They don't smoke around me because I still have those values that my grandparents instilled in me.
It's respect.
It's respect. And a lot of these days, kids want to be with their parents and they want to hang out and party with them. That's not showing you, that's not respect. That's partying with your kids. You're not showing them the values. Mm-hmm. There's no villages hardly anymore.
No,
there's not. There's no villages. And we have to get back to being a village to our kids. Mm-hmm. And my humble beginnings, I love. And I will teach and try to raise humble beginnings to any kid that want to learn.
Right. You're talking about trust, right?
Yeah.
Because in order to have that village, you know, you have relationships.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times within that village, you have uncles, extended family, cousins that are on that block.
Yeah.
You know, and close friends. For me, close friends to my mom and my grandparents. So when you did something wrong, they had already placed the call. And as you said, you got your butt whooped all the way down the street until you got home, until you got the big one. But what it also, for me, as we talk about the village, was the camaraderie and the safety and the security. You know, wherever you went on that street, wherever you went within that community, you were safe, or you had advocates within that community that would protect you. And also within that village, the values of that village, the value of education, the value of athletics, where you get taught teamwork, camaraderie, working hard, digging deep inside of yourself to overcome obstacles or perceive quote unquote obstacles. And also the family that's built with the kids from the extended family within that community. So you tell me, am I correct? But for me, you know, as we got older, we started to mirror that village, because as the young people get older and as those values are taught, we began to emulate those values with the younger kids that were coming up after us. So it was kind of a continuation, but also again, for me, Mike, as you said, we're losing that. And I feel what we lost, or what I know we lost in my community, is in those villages, people started moving away.
Yeah.
We had other people coming into the communities who had very different values than what you and I grew up with, you know. So what do you think about that? I mean, did you experience something similar to that in the community and the village?
Yeah. I mean, the village changed. A lot of the older people passed away. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the traditions got forgotten. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people like me and you that try to help the young generation, they call us obsolete. We get obsolete. We outdated. Mm-hmm. We don't move with the times.
Squares.
We're squares. You know, we're old heads. We don't move with the new generation. But you know, then I moved here to Milwaukee to be with my dad to spend my last year of high school. And I see when I moved here, there was hardly no villages. Mm-hmm. Because it's a whole different generation here.
Now, talk to me a little bit, before you get all into detail, for the last, give me about 2 minutes, talk to me about the things you noticed between the South, that village, and coming to the Midwest. Because for me, culturally, it throws me. When I first got here, it threw me completely, because I felt like I was dealing with different people. If you know what I mean, like whole different street, whole different variant. So explain that to me, how the differences between that village and then coming here.
Well, the village changed. It was every man fend for himself. That's what it was like when I moved here. I had my parents, I had some relatives, but I didn't have that village.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? You can go to a relative's house and it wasn't the same as being in the village when I was home. When
That
I was
safety, right?
I didn't have that safety net. You know, if you go to your aunt's house in St. Louis or the block, or you walk the neighborhood, you were safe.
Right.
But if you move here, you walk that block, you didn't have that safety net because nobody knew you. Everybody on that block looked at you like an outsider, and they look at you like, "What you doing on my neighborhood?"
Right.
It wasn't that village. And even though they knew who you were from your aunt, they didn't care what happened to you.
Right.
Because to them, you just another dude on the block.
Right. Every man to themselves.
Every man for themselves. But and that right there tells you the culture difference. And people look at you different. You went to a whole different school. You had to learn how to adapt.
Right.
And it's a different way. And no kid should ever feel that way, or nobody should ever feel that way.
I'll just say, hey, what we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back from the break, I want us to talk about that difference a little bit. And then we're going to talk about, because for me, as the village changed, the village also changed in its focus on the church, right?
Yes.
Coming up in our village, going to church, our community church was at the center of that village, right?
Yeah.
And then when I came to the Midwest, I really didn't see religion or that church as being the foundation of that village. And then the different perspectives, in terms of the violence, in terms of the every man for themselves. So again, we hear a lot about Milwaukee, and I want you to expound on that a little bit for me when we come back from the break. Guys, we'll be right back on The Conversation Show. Hi, guys. Welcome back to The Conversation Shop. I'm here with my very special guest, Mr. Michael King. On the first segment, we were discussing giving back with emphasis on the Black church. Mr. King was sharing with me how he grew up in St. Louis and the importance of the village. The village in terms of, and his family in terms of role models, in terms of values, in terms of safety, all of the values that inspire young people in the belief that we could become whatever we put our minds to. He also shared with us about, the culture of excellence in East St. Louis and the high school where he grew up in. So as we ended the first segment, we're making a transition into Mr. King moving to Milwaukee. And we were talking about how the differences in the village and then coming to Milwaukee with every man out for themselves. So on this segment, what I want to do is pick up, I want to backtrack just a little bit and talk about that village, because one of the things as I was growing up, and we have similar experience in a Southern village, was the importance of the church. So as the village kind of dissipated, people moved, one of the things that I noticed personally was the lack of emphasis on the church in the community and the lack of religion in terms of being important. I grew up and my grandmother had me in church 2-3 times a week.
Oh, I believe. Yep.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, I had kids and telling me, "Oh, you're a square. You're in church too much." And we're talking about, let's put it in the context of the time. We're talking about the crack at the beginning of the crack era. When drugs, crack picked off, everybody could make quick, easy money. And it kind of took away from the stars in the community being the athletes, being the musicians. Some of the stars and the athletes began being these drug dealers. And we've seen how those negative, bad decisions have destroyed communities. And as far as I'm concerned, it helped destroy the village. That's some of the things that helped destroy the village. So what I wanted to do, Mr. King, is kind of turn the mic over to you, and I wanted you to talk to me about a little bit about, did you see the difference or what role did the Black church play in maintaining the village, and what role did the Black church play, as you transition into Milwaukee? Did it play a role in maintaining the village, or what were the differences in the communities?
Well, it's growing up in East St. Louis and stuff. My grandmother and my parents and my Uncle Jerry, we had to go to church Wednesdays for Bible study.
Yep.
You weren't gonna miss Wednesday Bible study. I don't care. You had to go to Sunday school on Sundays, main church on Sundays.
Oh yeah.
So there was none of that. And we Southern Baptist is the church. Baptist churches, you got your instruments, you got your singing, you got it all on Sundays. And it's a difference for the church because they believe in the religion wholeheartedly. And you couldn't play sick, talking about, oh, I'm sick, I don't feel good. They had this saying, you get sick, God will make it better.
Right.
You turn it over to God, he gonna make it better. And that's the truth.
And what about going out the night before?
I know going out
hanging with your friends, and you're getting up in the morning. If you can go hang with the devil at night, my grandmother used to say you can go to church on Sunday.
Yep, because my dad used to tell me this all the time. You party with the devils 4 days a week, you give God the other 3 days. And right. I'm like, what? He goes, you can go play football and do whatever else you want to do, but on Sundays, on Wednesdays and Sundays, them are God days.
Right.
And I was like, I say, Dad, man, is there it? Because one time I told him, I said, I don't feel like going to church. And he looked at me and he told me, he said, I don't care how you feel, but when I start that car, if you ain't in that car, me, you, and God gonna have a conversation.
Ooh, really?
And I can guarantee you, me and God gonna win this conversation. And I tell you, church was the most humblest thing in the world for me to do, because when you came here to Milwaukee, and my dad moved here, and they started Pleasant Grove Baptist Church. It started on 3rd Street on Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, a little small hole in the wall. Now they're on 15th and Wright, where it's a big church.
Okay.
And I joined his deacon board, and then I became a minister. So it's like I followed in my dad and my grandfather's footsteps because I wanted to learn and continue the growth from when I was a kid, to learn and continue the values.
And to give back.
And we do Sunday school, we do Bible study, and my godfather is my pastor of the church.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was something that I grew up learning how to do. And it's something that still makes me feel humble every day. Because we got kids in that neighborhood, and the drug dealers over there know that church is off limits. Anything in that neighborhood over there is off limits. We do a pig roast every September. We call it Tennessee Day. Now
give the name and date. The date. Tell us about it a little bit.
Tennessee Day is, I think it's September 21st or something. It's always the 3rd Sunday of September. And the church's address is 2479 North 15th Street. And we do it every year in September. It's called Tennessee Day, but we haven't did it now because of coronavirus.
Right,
but we do it. I cook a pig. I go out there and cook a pig every year. Been doing it for the last 10 to 15 years. I'm out there every day from 2:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 or 11 o'clock, roasting the pig.
Okay.
And we have different churches come over from all over the place because we feed the whole neighborhood.
Okay.
The whole neighborhood comes over from all over the place, and people come over there and they eat and enjoy themselves. We call it Fellowship Day.
But you're also promoting that village again, right?
Yes. We're trying to create a village so people can come and express themselves and show themselves. We know we get a lot of young kids that come over and they say they have nowhere to go. and they want that encouragement on how can they change their life around.
Right.
So we try to tell them, you don't have to be in the streets out here working for somebody else doing bad things. And, it's a lot of young kids who don't have no place to go. And we give bread. We do dinners. We do all this stuff in the neighborhood to try to help out the neighborhood.
Okay.
Because, go ahead.
Tell me a little bit. Tell me about, I want to backtrack just a little bit. Tell me about when you made that transition to become a pastor and how you navigated that with some of the people you knew in the community and your impact on the community in terms of giving back. Talk to me a little bit about you making that decision to become a pastor and the motivation behind that and attaching that to giving back to a community that, quite frankly, as we talked about earlier, you're coming up, it's kind of every man for themselves, so we lost that village. So was the inspiration to become a pastor, was that tied to wanting to bring the village to Milwaukee, to those communities and show them that there was something better? Talk to me a little bit about that a little bit.
Well, it was a decision I made probably when I was growing up, because, growing up, your dad says that you have to make your own decisions sometimes in life. They put you out there, they let you grow up, and they tell you, you have to go find your own self and figure out what you want to do in your life. But, I already had a business, started a business, and, sometimes, you ask God to show you the way.
Yeah, tell us about that business you started as well.
I started a business called King and King Production Company, which is a company that works with professional athletes. And we do autograph signing, speaking engagement, bullying programs to help out kids who get bullied in school. And we help out adults because adults get bullied too. Right. And we go out, we do charity events for people for cancers and stuff like that. So we give back to the community also. Okay. So, but we try to instill, we do football camps. I help out at football camps where we do football camps where we go out and try to help kids who can't afford football camps. And we have athletes that does football camps. And I work at one where we have Gilbert Brown, who runs a football camp. Okay. And he does a football camp where it's free. He does it all by himself. Okay. And he has an organization that helps him, does this football camp. And for 15 years, he's been humping his butt, and we've been doing this forever. Okay. And we donate, we do all this work to try to show the kids that there's a better life. And we have had kids that go to college through this camp. They come back and they help out. And through me, with the church, for me, and me being a minister, it helps me realize the value on what God can do for you if you believe.
Yes, I love that message.
If you believe in yourself and in your faith, you can go a long way.
Yes, I love that message. We're going to end this segment on that very special message that you just gave to our audience. Guys, we'll be right back on The Conversation Shop. Hi, guys. Welcome back to The Conversation Shop. Again, I'm here with my very special guest, Mr. Michael King. He left us with a gem on the last segment in terms of a statement about what inspired him to go from being a business person into becoming a pastor. And I just want to turn the floor back over to him. We're discussing giving back to your communities and its relationship to the Black church. We also talked about the village and teaching children, especially here in the Midwest, that there is a village, that there is a community that believes in you, that wants the best for you. There's opportunities in terms of camps, professional athletes coming back, giving to those communities and inspiring the youth to reach for the stars, to reach for the sky. So, Mr. King, I want to turn the floor back over to you and allow you to finish telling your story and giving my audience some inspiration in terms of the things that you're doing in the community in Milwaukee.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity and the blessings that you do so much for the community and for giving us a place to come and express ourselves. You do such a wonderful job. And it's a blessing to just have you do this for everybody. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
And again, for me to give to the community, it's a blessing. I have a son who just turned 8, and I'm teaching him on how to be a blessing to the community also. This year, because of COVID, a lot of his classmates' parents couldn't afford Christmas gifts. So I have taught him to learn how to express himself and to be a blessing for his classmates. So this year, I had him take 3 boxes of toys and we gave it out to his classmates.
Nice.
I told him to, we're going to go by and get 3 boxes of toys, and there weren't small toys, there were a lot of toys. So they each picked out 2 toys. Mm-hmm. And so this is his way of learning how to be a giver.
Right, to give back.
To give back. So you teach them at a young age on how to give. Because if you teach them young, as they grow older, they learn how to teach the village. This is how you teach the village. Because the village starts at home.
Yes, it does.
If it don't start at home, we won't have a village.
Say that again. Can I get a repeat on that?
If the village don't start at home, we won't have the village.
Right. Thank you for that.
So that's where my village came from. The village started at home. The church was a village.
Yes.
And to me, it's like my business. My business is a village. If I don't take care of my village, which is my business, I won't have a village.
Right.
So I thank God every day for the blessings that he gives me every day. I don't take it for granted. And that's the problem with this world today. We take everything for granted. Mm-hmm. We think that everything should be given to us instead of earned.
Right.
So as a human and as a man and a woman, we should teach our kids every day to thank the man upstairs or the woman upstairs for the things that we have.
Right.
And don't take it for granted. Because, they always say what you got could be taken away in a heartbeat.
Yes. Let me expound on that real quick. Give me a second to share a story with you that you may not know about as we talking about things can be taken away. So back in 2014, I'm going to the gym every day. I'm working out every day. I got my health together. I'm down to 195. I'm feeling strong and powerful, right?
Yes, sir.
So I transitioned from Minnesota to Madison.
Yes, sir.
And, I was going through a divorce, and I woke up one day and didn't hear my kids in the house. And I realized I had a big house and a lot of things, but I didn't have what was important, which was love, my children, the things that money can't buy. So it was God tapping me on the head saying, get your priorities straight. So I thought that was the lesson. So I moved to Madison, and by April, I had went to the emergency room 10 days straight. I was having this pain in my back, like really deep pain.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize was, it's the indication of a heart attack. See, most people think that you have a heart attack and you feel it in your chest.
Yeah.
What I found out is most of the time you feel it in your back.
Yeah.
And it's tied to your lungs. So I go to the emergency room 10 days straight. They literally misdiagnosed me. I called my doctor in Minnesota, and he goes, tell them to take your blood and to give you a stress test. So they took my blood and they found troponin in my blood, which is an indication that you're having or you had a heart attack. So they rushed me to the hospital, and I have angioplasty, right? So again, as I'm laying here in the hospital, and it was a little worse than that. I'm kind of downplaying it because
Right.
before I had the angioplasty, as they were doing the test, there was a chance I could have open heart surgery, and there was a chance that I couldn't make it. Right. So I'm here without my family who's in the South trying to get to me, and I'm laying in this bed, and I just have a peace over me. It wasn't like I was afraid because I wasn't. Quite frankly, I felt like I've been blessed and I've lived a great life. I've traveled places I never thought I would go. I've
Yeah.
met people I've never thought I would ever meet, and I've earned well, very well in my life. But it was, coming to Madison was humbling for me because it was a step down from what I had gotten used to. So I had this arrogance about me as well. So God humbled me. So as I'm laying in the bed and I'm thinking about what's important, right? Because at that time I'm going, okay, I might not get out of here tomorrow. And one of the main things came to my mind was number one, seeing my kids grow up to be
Yeah.
adults, seeing my grandkids. That was important. But one of the things that I guess surprised me, but didn't surprise me, was that I felt like I hadn't touched enough lives in a positive way.
Yep.
So, as I'm laying down there, laying on this bed, and I'm feeling like I didn't make an impact with my life, I asked God that day, I said, Lord, if you bless me to come out of this, that I will touch as many lives as I possibly can in a positive way. And that's what the premise of the conversation shop is about, which is maybe what you may not have known. It's my way of touching the world and touching people's lives in a positive way by giving the everyday heroes an opportunity to share their stories, because to me, you're the hero. Not the people that are on the news every day, not the people in the community, and some of the people in the community that they identify as leaders, but I have to see it in action for me to consider you a leader. And from the time I met you through your spirit and through learning about some of the things that you do, you're a leader. So I've always wanted to connect with you in this way. And it's one of the reasons I wanted you on the show. So again, piggybacking off of the comment that you made, is you don't know when your life is going to change.
No.
So make sure that you're living your life's purpose, and make sure that when you have an opportunity within the village, within your own village, to touch people's lives in a positive way through a kind word, through a word of encouragement, through sharing your story. I say my story is a testament because when you met me, I was coming off of, I actually had a second heart attack where they missed it when I had the angioplasty again. So I ended up suing, and that's a whole another issue,
Right.
but I'm on, I'm good.
Right.
But after that, it just changed my life. So when you and I actually met when I was much bigger, that
Right.
was me coming off of having two heart attacks, trying to get myself back together and still believing and pushing myself forward positively. So again, I want to turn the floor back over to you for the last 3 minutes of this segment for you to kind of finish what you were saying. But I wanted to share that story with you and with the audience again.
It's a blessing and humbling for you to express yourself the way you do, because you don't have to. You could have kept that to yourself and
Right.
nobody would have never known. But, God works like he always does in mysterious ways.
Right.
And, there's a barbershop here when I was growing up, coming up here to visit my dad all the time. Used to be on 35th and Capitol, called Ray's Barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
And Ray's Barbershop, you see the movie The Barbershop? This barbershop is the original barbershop where you can go in there and get a haircut. If your parents didn't have money, they will give you a haircut and tell your parents, pay me when you get the money.
Oh, that's perfect, man. That's
The
a
owner
village,
of
though.
that's a village.
Mm-hmm.
The owner of the barbershop name is Ray. He named it after himself. You got Jimmy, you got Ray, and you got what's the other name? I can't think of his other name, the other barber in there. But you had 3 barbers in there, and them same barbers in there are still in there today. They're a little older, in their 70s now, and they still cutting hair.
Now
And let
tell
me
us
tell
where
you,
that is again. Give us the
it's off of
address.
35th and Capitol. It's called Ray's Barbershop, Ray's Clippers.
Okay.
And let me tell you something. If they took care of the kids like the kids were their own when we were growing up, if your parents couldn't afford to give you the money, they'll tell you, bring your report card in there. You got a good report card, you get a haircut.
Oh, nice.
And if your parents couldn't afford to pay for your haircut, they'll tell your parents, pay me when you get a chance.
Okay.
And let me tell you something. Ray worked at A.O. Smith and owned a barbershop. And
Oh,
he
wow.
still owns that same barbershop. And he is a great man and a great mentor for young people. And it's a blessing. Like I said, it's a village. And that was one of the village places here that you can go to. And
Yes.
he cut all the people that was pastors and ministers' hair. That's where they go to get their hair cut from. And
But
they
he was
talked.
teaching giving.
Yeah, he was teaching giving. And that was part of the giving process. When you go in there before church on Saturday, you see all the ministers and pastors and they're getting their haircut and shaved ready for Sunday.
Right. And he was
that's
teaching the youth the same things that you share with me that you're teaching your son.
Yeah,
Some
I'm
you
teaching them how to give.
how to give. And that's what I think is lost within our times and within the youth now. You know, a lot of times I see take, give me, take, instead of understanding. In order to receive, you have to have a heart of giving.
Right. It's like
You know,
we do these football camps. We do these free football camps. Gilbert Brown does all this stuff every year. He gives up his time for football camps.
Hey, we're going to pick right back up on talking about Gilbert's football camps on the last segment. We'll be right back on the Conversation Shop. Hi, welcome back to the Conversation Shop with Sedrick Page. Again, I'm here with my very special guest, Mr. Michael King. On the show today, we're talking about giving back as it relates to the Black church, and we're having a wonderful conversation today. Mr. King, I'm just going to turn the floor over to you on this last segment again, and let's finish talking about, you know, the giving that we were discussing with the barbershop. Again, I forget the name of the barbershop. The name is?
It's called Ray Clippers Barbershop. It's off of 35th and Capitol here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's a barbershop where when you were a kid growing up and you can go there and they will cut your hair. If your parents didn't have money, they'll cut your hair for you and tell your parents, pay me later. And the owner, Ray, is one of the most humblest people I've ever met in my life growing up as a kid when I used to come visit. And I still go there sometimes just to say hi to him and check on Jimmy and Frank. Frank is the other barber. That's who it is. It's Ray, Frank, and Jimmy. And just to check on them, just to see how they're doing.
I salute you, Mr. Ray. I salute you. You know, we need more barbershops and more people in our communities like you. And I've never met you, but I want to applaud you for the seeds that you planted. Obviously, you planted some good seeds in Mr. King, and I'm sure within the community. So I salute you, sir, and I thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. And, you know, and to me, I try to give back as much as, not as much as I can, but I try to give back and be humble to the community by doing, you know, we do stuff like drop off toys, we drop off coats. I help out at football camps. You know, I've been doing football camps with Gilbert for, it's 15 years he's been running this football camp.
Well, tell us the name of that camp.
It's called the Gilbert Brown Football Camp, All-Star Football Camp. He does it every year at North Division High School, and he don't ask for anything but for the kids to show up, be respectful, and respect everybody that works there.
Is there a web address in case anyone wants to go and
yeah,
find
you
out
can
about
go
it?
to you can go to Gilbert Brown Foundation.org and look at the football camp, and it's sign up. It's all free.
Okay. And your organization again? Don't forget your business. Tell us the name of that again.
The name of my business is called King and KingProductions.com. It's a business where we do bullying programs, speaking engagements, autograph signings, and stuff like that. And we also do stuff to help out if you have an event where you need a donation or something, we will also donate for your events for cancer and anything else that you need.
Well, give us some again. I want you to give us some examples. I want you to
Uh,
talk to us in details
we
about some of the ways that you're being impactful in your communities, in your community in Milwaukee, and give us some, if you can, please give us some examples of some of the youth that you've inspired over the years and some of the accomplishments that have come from a lot of the seeds that you guys are planting. If you
well
if you can.
we have, I mean, we have a lot of business wise. We have helped out a lot of kids that have got out of the streets and out of trouble. And a lot of kids' parents like to be anonymous, and we like to stay anonymous when we help out people
Understand. I got you.
because we don't want them to know where the help comes from
I understand.
because we do it out of the kindness of our hearts. And a lot of people look for recognition,
Hmm.
and that's not who we are. We don't want the recognition. And I don't think that if you're helping somebody, you don't look for glory.
Right. I understand.
Because glory and being a glory. Okay, I'm gonna give you a prime example. If you look at Fox 6 News and look under, I used to own the semi-pro football team called the Milwaukee Hurricanes.
Okay.
I used to own that team, and Tom Pippins, if you know Tom Pippins, used to work for Fox 6. He wrote an article about me doing a cancer benefit football games for every home game to help out a family. They had a daughter named Meredith who had leukemia.
Hmm.
And we took care and raised money for that family and did whatever we could to help them with their daughter.
Right.
And to this day, Jason, their dad, cried, and what me and him still talk. We're good friends. I'm like the godparents to their kids. And we do so much and talk a lot. And Tom wrote a story about how a parent of another parent can show love to somebody that he never met. And to me, Tom Pippins, to tell you, to this day, when I see Tom, he still tell people how I made him and that other people feel so good, but I never want recognition because I don't.
Well,
And
let me make this statement real quick. One of the reasons I asked you to give me some examples is because of your humility, because I think you're inspirational. I
yes,
think you're inspiring. So the reason I want you, and I want to be clear to you and my audience, the reason I'm even asking you to share these things is because through your humility, you can inspire others
yeah,
to give in the same way that you give into the community. And
yeah,
and I want to be clear about that. You're inspirational to me. And the things that you're doing within the community, and even what Gilbert is doing in the community, is inspirational to me because it's not about the recognition, as you and I discussed on the last segment. It's about touching people's lives in a positive way because that's just who we are, right?
yes,
It comes from your heart. You don't do it for anything other than the joy that comes in giving, right? The
yes.
joy that comes from giving back. So I wanted to just be clear with the reasons why I wanted you to share those things. And again, I want you to finish talking to my audience about some of the things that you're doing in the community, either with the camps, with your specific business, and also I want to get back to the church, some of the things that the church is doing, anything that you guys have coming up in the near future that's coming up. I want you to talk about that and talk about it and share with us the impact that you've seen the things that you're doing make on the community in terms of giving back and rebuilding that village.
Well, to me, rebuilding the villages, business, as far as my business wise, before COVID hit, uh, we used to donate, or we still do when COVID's over with. We donate uh, tickets to family night up in Green Bay.
Okay.
And we donate family night tickets where families who can't afford to take their kids to a Packer game can take them to family night. That's
Love that.
called rebuilding the village.
Love that.
Because, and we take them to Bucks games because people can't afford to go to stuff like that. But if you give away tickets and you trying to bring we take the tickets to the YMCA and we give them to different YMCAs. We give them to the ones on North Division by off of North Avenue. We give them to the ones in off of Howard Avenue. We go to the inner city and give them away, because inner city people can't afford to take their kids.
Right.
So we know the suburbs, some of them can afford it, but the inner city can't. So we're trying to make the village and the kids understand. You get 2 tickets. So you get 2 tickets, 2 people can go. And we try to encourage them to say, hey, my business is giving away all these tickets. Here you go. Let's be a village, and we all sit together and we can go. I give them to my church, and my church comes and sit with the village.
Yes.
So these not strange. They might be strangers when they first start, but when they put it on the scoreboard and they say this section here and this section here, all these tickets were donated through King and King Production Company, and they're from the YMCA, Pleasant Grove Baptist Church, and all these tickets come from this person right here. And he wants them all to come together and just have fun, because that's what I want. I want them to understand that we can all sit together no matter where we come from.
Yes.
And to me, my church is Pleasant Grove Baptist Church is a place where you can start the village. Because when new members come and they join the church, that's part of a new village.
Okay.
Because these are people that some of them say they've never been to church. So when they come, we welcome them to the church, and we tell them, when you need something, you let the church know. Because we have a church board. The church board say, hey, they don't have clothes. They don't have a lot of food. So we give them food. We give them clothes. We find them clothes. So that's what the church does. The church is the part that makes the village better.
Well, I love that, because one of the things I love, and I do want to give a shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks, because they're part of your village and partners within your village. And to me, it's just amazing and inspiring that they're giving back to Milwaukee and to the inner city as partners with you. So I do want to make sure that we give a shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks, and anyone that you'd like to give a special kind of recognition or example of another inspirational person that's assisting you with that. And then towards the end, real quickly, I want you to take your time and leave my audience with some words of wisdom and examples of how they can make it be impactful in their communities and giving back and working with the churches as well.
Well, inspiration thoughts are, first of all, we must love one another. We can't turn our back on each other in good times or bad times. And being a part of a church and going to a church doesn't mean that you are a bad person. That means you're a person of faith. And faith in this world goes a long way. And taking a friend to church to express yourself and opening up the doors is showing love and kindness. So when you have a friend that's down on his luck, don't kick them when they're down. Pick them up and lift them up. Show them love and kindness. And never forget the humble beginnings on where you started from and where you can end up.
Yes.
Because it's 2 things in this world that we all need. That's love and each other. And without that, we have nothing.
Yes, I agree totally. My friend. What I would like to leave and say to my audience, again, I want to thank you, Mike, Mr. King, for joining me today on the Conversation Shop. And again, as we discussed prior to the show, you're going to be a continual guest on the show. I want you to come back and share with my audience a lot of the things that we're doing, a lot of things that you have going on, so we can make this giving back and the tying it to the church something continual. It's something that's important to me. In reference to my audience, I want you to know it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
It takes a village to be inspirational to adults. It takes a village to push all of us forward. That's Black, white, Puerto Rican, that's Haitian. We need all of us coming together, especially in these trying times with COVID, with the winter things that are going on down south. I want to send prayers and blessings to Mississippi, Georgia, Texas,
Texas.
Alabama, those places that are, people are dying. God is giving all of us a wake up call that the things that we take for granted can be taken from us at any moment, at any time. And make sure that you're navigating or making yourself available to the churches that you're a part of. If you don't go to church, go find a church home, someplace where you can be inspired and in turn inspire others. If you're a business owner like Mr. King, make sure that you don't forget about, again, where you come from when you didn't have, and make sure that you're creating opportunities to give back to the community, either with your presence, just sharing your testimony. As I said earlier with mine, I try to share my testimony as much as I can, as often as I can. And I want to leave you all with the message of, don't let something major, a negative, happen in your life to make you realize that you need to touch people's lives in a positive way. Remember, we have a responsibility to take care of each other. So a kind word, a hug when it's needed, a helping hand when it's needed, advice when it's needed, or even when it's not or not asked for, goes a long way. Helping someone across the street, saying yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, just having a good spirit goes a long way. I want to send love and blessings to my audience, and I want to thank you, and we'll see you next time on The Conversation Show.